Okay, so I want to discuss that preview scene at the end of this episode before I talk about the episode. I know I should talk about the episode before that, but I really want to talk about it because there's a lot of information there that's interesting, and I'm very curious on how the next episode is going to turn out. So if you haven't seen the preview for next week's episode, I recommend you go watch it before you continue the video, because I don't want to spoil you. So with that being said, Master Roshi versus Frost. That is going to happen, apparently, next week. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Master Roshi. The man proved himself in last week's episode. One of the best episodes of Dragon Ball Super. Master Roshi, wonderful character, wonderful development. Clearly, hands down, one of the best characters that has come into Dragon Ball Super. At the very least, has made a reappearance back into the series and finally got the spotlight. He has gotten so much development, and I really loved last week's episode. It was such a great episode. And so, with the preview next week, focusing once again on Master Roshi versus Frost, I'm left like, look, Master Roshi's strong, but he's not Frost level. And now, I know Frost is not Frieza level. Like, I know Frost isn't at the level of Frieza, because Frieza has Golden Frieza. Perfect Golden Frieza, to be exact. Frieza has perfected his form. And even if Frost had Golden Frieza, or Golden Frost, or whatever he wants to call it, basically, he does not have the perfect form. So, regardless, though, even if he did or didn't, he is not the level of Frieza. He's nowhere near as strong as Frieza, from what we know so far. And so that would mean that, even still, I don't think Master Roshi could stand up against Frost, because Frieza's just insane. He was insanely powerful. He is ridiculous in terms of power level. I mean, even in the movies, the Battle of God movie, and then also when we found out, like, in the Resurrection of Frieza, we know Frieza's base form was just off the charts. It was really strong. In Master Roshi's base form, for what was established in Z, and now I know power levels, they kind of gone a little bit way off the board and all that, but still. And so I just can't see Master Roshi surviving against Frieza, and if Frost is like anywhere near the original Frieza, then he still doesn't have a chance. Now, I know the Mafuba, it is a technique that could possibly work against Frost. However, Master Roshi even getting close to Frost, I just don't see happening. And we do know that Frost has a plan with Frieza. There's some form of little plan going on behind the scenes. And knowing how Frieza is as a person, I see him stabbing Frost in the back. That's just, it's a given. It's bound to happen. I could see Frost trying to backstab Frieza, and then Frieza's gonna backstab Frost. It's gonna be like a clusterfuck of backstabs when it comes to those two characters. But before that happens, though, Frost could possibly be taken out because of Mafuba. And if Master Roshi does that, I am going to be in utter shock. That is legit going to shock me, because he's probably going to die. If he does that, he will definitely die. I mean, his heart already stopped in the last episode, and he barely came back. Barely. Barely at all came back. And as we know, when it comes to Dragon Ball, natural deaths are completely different from real deaths. From what was established, if you die from a natural death of passing of old age and stuff, like your heart stops and all that, and it wasn't because someone killed you, you can't be wished back. At least that was the rules of Dragon Ball Z. And that's why Goku could really never be wished back or anything in, you know, the History of Trunks saga. But regardless of the Dragon Balls, you know, they couldn't be used because, even if they were there, they couldn't wish Goku back because he passed away by normal circumstances. So, if Master Roshi dies, he might not be able to come back. But in turn, wouldn't that make the ending of Dragon Ball Z not canon anymore? Because it's been a long time since I have watched it, so I would have to go back and check myself. But if I'm correct, at the end of Dragon Ball Z, when we had the Oob stuff, like Goku met Oob and he was fighting with him and all that, I believe Master Roshi was there. And so, if Master Roshi does die from natural causes in the next episode, then how is Master Roshi back? Unless either they retcon the rules of how wishes are done, or they completely just say that that ending of Dragon Ball Z is no longer valid. That's not the representation of the conclusion of Dragon Ball anymore. So, I don't know. I don't know what direction it can go, but I'm very curious, because if he does die because of heart stopping and all that, he's probably gone. He's probably gone, unless, like I said, the retcon to, like, Dragon Balls and stuff. That's the only thing I can see something happening. So anyways, besides that, let's talk about the context of this episode, what it was about. So it was basically a sniper and a scout, or a reflector, versus everyone else in the ring. And it was a very dangerous combo. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting thing in Dragon Ball Super or in this arc yet. However, I did like the element of what this episode tried to do. It tried to add tactics and strategy. It wasn't just, like I've even said in my live reaction last night, it isn't just about beating the shit out of each other, let's move on to the next opponent. And a lot of times in Dragon Ball, it does this. And I like episodes that do try to focus on tactics and strategy, and that's what the episode tried to do. I mean, some will look at this episode and think it's very boring, it's a trash episode, skip, and I can understand why in some cases. I can understand why. But some ways, I'm like, I like this episode because the reason how these guys were defeated was thanks to strategy. I mean, Goku and Vegeta, they were the only ones that were really showing brute force. They were just slinging rocks and stuff at the reflector dude, and I'm like, oh my god, like, it was funny. I was laughing in my live stream because they're just holding a boulder. He's like, I'm gonna squash your ass. That's what it looked like, their faces they were giving and all that. Like, I'm gonna squash you with this big boulder. And I just couldn't stop from laughing. But besides that, all the other characters, like Piccolo and Gohan, they were using strategy. And then you had it where Tien, he was using strategy. And I'm kind of sad that Tien was knocked out. I'll get into that in a moment. But still, there was a lot of strategy, especially Piccolo using, like, you know, his mind to figure out, like, oh, he's using heat vision. Like, he's seeing, like, our heat come off of us, and that's how he's able to track us. It wasn't because of Ki. And so he started lighting up the area, making it where the area raised in temperature. He couldn't really find out where they're at. And so Piccolo was doing a very good job. And I also like the fact that Piccolo's, like, loss of limbs came back into the series. Now, I know Piccolo losing limbs isn't really anything special, because, I mean, he can just regenerate them, but this gives me hope for the possibility of maybe this happening to actual characters. Like, you know, maybe we could have, like, an armless Gohan, a one-handed Gohan. Just, oh my god, like, please don't. Give me that. Like, I've always loved that design in the games of Dragon Ball, and even, you know, the History of Trunks saga. I love the one-handed Gohan. Just the adult future Gohan using one hand. It would be really cool if a character lost their arm. I don't think Toei would probably go that far, but it'd just be really cool, and I would love to see something like that. But anyways, though, getting back on topic, Piccolo lost his arms like 3 times in this episode to protect Gohan, and he was more like a meat shield than anything else when it came to the episode. I mean, he had a lot of strategy and tactics, he was very smart, but he had to protect Gohan most of the episode, which kind of upsets me a little bit because Gohan has proved he's very strong, and so I do want Gohan to have like an episode focusing on him and him overcoming a lot of things. I mean, yes, I know we already had an episode doing that, but I'd like to see more of Gohan not needing Piccolo to protect him constantly. Now, let's get into Tien. So, Tien, he took down the dude, the sniper and all that. He was the one that managed to take down the sniper, and I just want to give congrats to Tien. He did a very good job in this episode. However, I'm disappointed as well. Tien isn't my favorite character, but I have a lot of respect for him. As a person and as a character in the series, I have a lot of respect for Tien. He's not my favorite, but mad respect goes to him. And the reason for it is what I witnessed him do in the original OG Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Like, his feats in Dragon Ball are already crazy. But then you have his feats in Dragon Ball Z when he was nowhere near the level of certain characters, he still stood up to fight. Like, we look at the Nappa fight. This man stood up and basically killed himself on Nappa, but he was still standing and fighting to the bitter end until he dropped dead. And then we have the stuff with Cell. Cell, this unstoppable monster that no one really could stop. He held Cell back. That no one could. Piccolo, which already went through like a transformation, couldn't hold back. And you have it to where Tien, he's like, just keeping Cell in this hole, this big pothole. Now, he wasn't hurting Cell, but he held him down. He pushed him down, and Cell was just not able to get back up at all until Tien just passed out. And there was just so much respect in that moment because it showed how much determination Tien is and what he will do to achieve victory or do something for his friends. And when he's sitting there just launching his Ki Blast constantly, his Tri-Beam right on top of Cell, I just had so much respect for him. I'm like, this man is giving up his life to do something just so fucking epic. And once that is done, this man in the Majin Buu saga, he stood up to Super Buu. And like, oh my god, like Super Buu at that time when he was already, he absorbed Gotenks and all that, there's just no way Tien was even near that level. Like, this man knew he was nowhere near them, but he still stood up and fought. This man straight up fought Boo. He like, looks at Boo and is trying to fight him. And there was just no chance at all. But he still tried his hardest to fight him. And I was like, damn, like, that takes a lot of balls to do. Especially standing up against Super Boo like that when he was already that ridiculous. All the feats we already saw Boo do before that scene. Like, how could he just... There's just no way. I mean, he did get his ass beat, but still, it takes a lot of courage to do what he did. So Tien has always been this character that I've held so much respect for, and you would think a character like this, that is a fan favorite to many, would have an entire episode dedicated to him if he's going to get ringed out, and that did not happen. He did not have an episode for himself. I mean, we got to see the multi-form technique, we got to see him use strategy, take down the opponent with him, which is quality, it was good stuff, but the way he went down, I felt like there should have been more to Tien. I mean, Krillin had his episode, and then we had Master Roshi have his episode. I felt like Tien should have had his own episode. I really felt like he should have, but I guess, you know, we're not going to get that. So, sad, but we got to live with it. So, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.